Real quick about tonight's episode, we talked about the movie Parasite, and we get into spoilers quick. We do warn, but just in case, we're not going to review the movie in its intricacies for you unless you've seen it. So listen for the recommendations, but then jump out of there before the spoilers start, because you don't want to be spoiled for this movie. Enjoy the episode. Oh, God. When you had your kidney stone, I remember thinking like, "Oh, is this what's going to kill Dustin's soda habit?"
No, I had killed that a long time ago, and then just voluntarily.
Yeah.
And then so I found that it might have been the sweet tea. So I said, okay, fine. So I spent a while like literally just drinking like water and some juices.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I have to have a caffeine fix, and I couldn't bring myself to drink sweet tea anymore. And that's not much caffeine anyway.
But you don't drink coffee though, right?
I don't. Don't. And so I've never had a taste for it. And so even though Sarah makes me try like at least once or twice a month, and I'm like,
you're like,
every
still
time.
Nope.
Yeah, she's like, try it now. I use a different creamer, and I'm like,
It's so weird because it is the definition of acquired taste. Like when you drink coffee, your brain doesn't tell you this tastes good, but there's something about it that's just your brain goes, this is acceptable and adequate.
I genuinely think coffee with no sugar and just half and half does taste good. But I can totally understand why people wouldn't at the same time, which I guess is me slightly admitting that it doesn't taste amazing.
No, so mine's totally just it's all psychology, because for me, when I was young, my grandmother drank coffee like crazy, and I remember her giving me some coffee when I was, I don't know, 4 or 5. Like, do you want to try this? Like, this will be fun. And so she gave it to me, and I was like, I hate this. And so I'm sure it just stems from that terrible experience.
My first coffee experience was like it was overwhelmingly like milk and stuff. So it was very diluted, the bitterness. And I remember thinking like, oh, this is delightful. And I started drinking it like in my mid-teens maybe, but like not regularly. Just if my grandmother was in town, my parents had quit drinking coffee at that point. I don't know if they both did. I think my dad did. And then one day they just both started drinking Diet Coke. And, and then like there was no more coffee. It was only when my grandmother came in town that we even had coffee in the house.
Gotcha.
So of course now I drink it like a fish, and
right.
I've ebbed and flowed my consumption of it. I'm back on the back end of it. I only have like a cup or 2 a day, actually.
I'll tell you what I drink.
Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's been just by myself. I make a pot, but I always feel weird making a pot that just has like, the little markers on the side, like just the 3. I make like 7, and then I look at it, I'm like, well, somebody's got to drink it.
I know.
So I've been drinking like 6 cups of coffee a day. It's not
Kellen.
good.
Yeah. Oh,
like I'll be sitting there working, and I'm just drawing, and I'm like, why do I feel like I am a gazelle being chased by a cheetah right now?
Yeah.
Yes. No, so my caffeine fix comes from Mexican Cokes. Those are the best sodas.
Cane sugar.
It's the pure cane sugar, man. And dude. I just love that. And that got me right back into sodas, and I was like, crap. Although oddly enough, I don't like regular Cokes now because of the high fructose corn syrup. It like tastes weird. Yeah.
Well,
I can drink a Pib, but a regular Coke I can't.
Well, I'm not on a high horse because I may not drink soda, but I drink plenty of beer, and that is just as bad for you in lots of ways.
Wow. Speaking of things that are bad for you in lots of ways, we all saw Parasite.
I'm deadly serious.
지금 진짜로 이상한 게 뭔 것 같아.
Parasite was directed by Bong Joon-ho, starring. It's a Korean film, and I can't pronounce any of the other actors' names. But what you probably know about this movie is that it won Best Picture and Best Foreign Film this past year at the Academy Awards, which for the first time in a while actually means something. That achievement, maybe.
Yeah. Sure. Arguably.
We were watching it because when I saw this thing win Best Picture, we were in the hospital because my wife had just given birth to our son. So this was, that was on a Friday, and then this was the Sunday after. So we just were watching it. I had nowhere better to be. And I remember when that won, that just kept winning award after award. And I think the big thing about this that struck people afterwards was, if you remember, was everyone seemed charmed by how genuine Bong Joon-ho seemed to be, not only to be there, but to be among his idols. And it was sort of a weird, refreshing look at just take the cynicism out of this industry for a minute. And here's a guy who just really loves making movies and, totally. Doesn't have a weird attitude about it. That's all to say that between his treatment of his success that night and the fact that before the Oscars, I'd heard from so many places that this was a film worth seeing. And then I think, Dustin, I think we were just talking about, weren't we just talking about seeing it? We knew it was coming to Hulu or something. We'd read some news article about it coming to Hulu. Yep. So then it was just a waiting game. And then I'd forgotten and you reminded me and I was like, we're going to watch this weekend. And in a rare turn of events, my wife watched this with me because she actually watches every Korean show that's on Netflix has been watched by Mrs. Hooper. So I roped her into it, and what a wild ride this movie turned out to be. Did anyone see this in theaters? Kellen, did you see this in theaters?
No, John mentioned that he did. I watched it in my home. I've got a nice TV and sound system, but it would make me super uncomfortable to be around other uncomfortable people while watching this uncomfortable movie.
There's at a certain point, I had to keep going up to my stairs to make sure my daughter wasn't out of bed because she does that a lot. And so whenever as soon as things start happening, my wife was like, check the stairs. And I'm very glad I did.
As a kid who watched my parents' movies from the banister into our, down into our living room as a kid, that's a smart call.
Well, so Parasite is I want to go around and figure out everyone's star rating, and then I just want to talk about this movie because it's so water coolery. I think I give this. We got out of 5 stars. I would probably give it a 5. I really enjoyed this movie. I appreciated being taken on a ride and, guessing, having my expectations exceeded left and right. So I just for that reason, we can go into it in a minute, but just for that simple reason, I just appreciated that it was something really refreshing and different. And engaging. And I admit the bar was low because it was a foreign film, and I just don't tend to do well with those very much.
What did you know about it going in? Where were your expectations
I didn't know anything about it. I just knew it was Bong Joon-ho. I knew that people generally liked it, and that it made history with its awards recognition. And then, it was going to be on Hulu for free. So the movie came to me and it came highly recommended. And so I had to check it out. I had to. So I was excited to see it. And totally. So, Dustin, what about you? Where would you rate it?
On 5 stars, I would probably go. I'd go 4. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was super enjoyable. I didn't have any idea what this movie was about. I remember seeing the trailer. So we actually screened this film at the film festival that I do the technical direction for. And so we had screened it. I had talked to Neon and like, secured the film and blah, 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 all that stuff. And like everything I heard, because they sent a screener beforehand, I think. And I didn't get a chance to watch it. And everything I heard was like, this is fantastic. You have to see it. And so I made every effort to like try to see it during the festival. And I just ended up having to work through it. So I couldn't see it. But like afterwards, just talking to people around the festival, it was like, that was probably the best thing at the festival. And I was like, snap, like I have to see this. And then of course what happened at the Oscars. And so all of that is to say, like, my expectations were very high, even though I didn't know anything about it. And so, like I said, I remember watching the trailer months and months and months and months and months ago. But I realized, like, as I was watching, I was like, I don't recognize any of this. I have no memory of what this film is about. All I knew was, everyone likes this thing. And that's all I knew. And so my expectations were pretty high. Like I wanted it to be fantastic, and it's very good. But yeah, I'd say 4 stars for, yeah.
What about you,
Solid.
Kellen? Do you allow half stars?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would definitely say 4.5. So I'm highly distracted these days. It takes a lot for me to sit through a movie, and I don't know whether
one of those
that's
Quibi people.
Yeah, sure. I guess I'm their target audience. So granted, this was before, the lockdown for COVID and all that stuff was going on. But there are so many times where I'll put on a movie.
What are you talking about? Sorry, I didn't mean to derail you. I'm sorry.
Are we all just hanging out in our houses for funsies?
We can quit when we want to.
So, and I put it on. So I guess my impression of it when I, before I saw it was all I had ever seen or known about it was the poster. I couldn't surmise anything from said poster.
Yeah.
I knew it had to do with a family, like something about the buzzword family was mentioned. And I could have seen it in theaters. There's a cool theater in town that isn't the Draft House. That's called the Violet Crown Cinema, and it's downtown.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, and it's basically like Alamo Draft House if the theaters were like a quarter of the size and the food was more expensive. It's fine. But it was a Sunday and I got out and I walked all the way down there, like 3 miles or a mile and a half, 2 miles from my house. And I got there and it was a choice between Parasite or Jojo Rabbit, and I chose Jojo Rabbit at the time.
Yeah.
So then I had enough people tell me to watch it, and I watched it, and so I guess my ranking is based on if a movie makes me feel something strongly, even if that's an unpleasant thing.
Right.
Then it's good. Like I can sit through a movie and be kind of like, yeah, that was competently made, but like, I don't think that means it's good. Sure. And this movie made me super, super duper uncomfortable. And I can't dock points for a movie just because I never want to watch it again.
Right.
Because it was successful at what it was trying to do. And for me, I guess it comes down to I have always hated stealth missions in video games. I hated hide and go seek as a kid.
Yeah.
Like people getting found out, like people like deceiving others, and like the knowing they're going to get found out and just not knowing how bad it's going to be when it does happen. All of that. This movie is a perfect combination of all the stuff that makes me really cringe. So, yeah, I think I was texting you guys while watching it, just going like, "Oh my god, this movie is making me so uncomfortable."
Yeah, no, I'm with you. What this film, like the impression it left is sort of its legacy in my mind. Like I remember this movie and it stayed with me for a long time. Specific images, specific like things, like themes and ideas. It's just kind of like seared in my mind. And so, yeah, big points for that for sure.
Yep.
I think that one of the reasons I liked it so much was because your sympathies kind of change a little bit during the movie, but not in ways that I think that a normal, like, let's make a subversive movie about like, class disparity and all that stuff. Like what I appreciated was that, and I guess I want to go ahead and just say broadly, it sounds like all three of us recommend that people see this. It's on Hulu, and people can see it right now. But I kind of do want to. I don't want to avoid spoiler it just because we only have half an hour to talk about the movie, and I just want to say it's recommended, but I want to talk about the things that happen in it.
Sure. You can't not.
If that's okay. Yeah.
You can't not.
So
you can't not.
What I liked about it was that you start with this family who, they right off the bat, they don't seem like bad people. They're just, they're a tight knit group of, they're a tight knit family, but they're, pretty poor. But then they happen upon this opportunity to sort of, one of them, their son happens upon the opportunity to work for this family. And then he gets in there, he, kind of secures it. And one by one, I didn't realize what was happening until the dad got hired as the driver, because then I was like, oh, they're just like a bunch of con artists, basically. It's like a little family, a little den of thieves. And then before you know it, all of them work for this family, and the family doesn't know. And at that point, because again, I didn't know what this film was about at all. So as this was unfolding, I was just getting tickled. I was just like, oh, this is great. I love this premise. And then of course there's the whole thing of, okay, so what happens in a movie like this? Well, they get found out eventually, and there's consequences, and what's going to happen when the consequences happen. Is Kellen okay? What tends to happen is people get found out, and then, like Wedding Crashers, for example, is kind of a weird example, but they get found out. But then it's my template for this movie was Wedding Crashers. It was going to be, all right, they're going to get found out, but during the course of working for this family, they're gonna sort of be in it for the right reasons. I guess that was my prediction. Was this will unfold like Wedding Crashers. And it's okay. And it does not. Eventually, you get this whole thing with the bunker and hiding from loan sharks and all this crazy stuff. And how even those people, as soon as they get the upper hand, will take it and seize it. And I think one of the things I was telling my wife, like, I think I appreciated, just as a minor note, that the family, the rich family, I think it's easy in movies like this to make them seem just like assholes because they have money, and I figured they were going to,
and because sort of structurally they're the antagonist in a way.
Exactly. So like what tends to happen is and what tends to happen is I kept thinking they're going to reveal the guy, they're going to reveal the husband to be like this some kind of horrible person, like, oh, I built my empire on the backs of, poverty or whatever. And for all intents and purposes, they keep humanizing the family as the story goes on, the rich family, as the story goes on, with a few minor things. But it's actually interesting how fair they are to the family, who, for all intents and purposes, has really, at least from what I can tell, has really done nothing wrong at all. And unless I'm missing some plot detail that you guys didn't miss.
No,
except for at the end, with like the whole like, hey, get the keys, let's go. But that guy has no way of knowing. He doesn't know that that's his kid who just got stabbed. Yep. So you can't blame him for being like, hey, person who works for me, get over here. My children have been attacked. And I think as a final note, I just appreciate that the guy who murders somebody because of his perceived anger towards him kind of gets what he deserves. He's not some like weird like folk hero for it. He lives in exile, and he's probably going to die in that bunker. Mm-hmm. And I'm smiling about it somehow. It's just such a I don't know. Would you guys agree with that at all?
Yes, for the most part. I mean, I think the film does raise the question of. So the film's called Parasite. So the question is, who's the parasite, right? Or what group of people is the parasite? And I think Bong Joon-ho was very purposeful in not letting us feel like any particular person or group of people is the parasite.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think it could be argued that while maybe the rich family didn't do anything necessarily wrong,
right,
or at least something that we couldn't sympathize with, the question remains that what the director is asking is, are they also parasitic in that they are taking advantage of and living off of the energy and the abilities of the poor, and because they seem to not be able to do anything on their own, right? And so
it's not so much a malicious like relationship off of them. It's more just like, if not for these people that you pay to do your bidding, you couldn't live. So in that way, you pay them. You are a paying parasite, but you are a parasite.
Right. And I think that's what the film's kind of asking. And so, yeah, I would agree. I think that family is super sympathetic, and as far as, morally or whatever, they seem to be fine.
Normal. They're normal. I mean, there's
sure.
a light dusting of like marital tension. There's a little bit of acting out from the daughter. The son's kind of all over the place, but I mean, it's so normal. You keep thinking something is going to happen in any of those areas with the family to sort of be like, oh, these people are kind of falling from grace, but it's just, no, this is all fairly normal family unit, small problems, a lot of red herrings.
Well, yeah. And they never like, I don't think they're supposed to be the antagonists other than the sense that they would get in the way of the main characters, which I wouldn't even call them protagonists. So, yeah, and I don't think anything from them comes from like malicious intent.
Right.
Like it's weird. For a while, I thought they were trying to make them vapid and stupid, so you like didn't respect them.
Right.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I think that was actually more along the lines of ignorance in the terms of like they didn't understand anything beyond their world, like their problems are not problems in the grand scheme of things. So I think that was well handled, because like if you're going to talk about class struggles, all you're going to do is like pick up a lot of different people along that strata's kind of like ears to see how they're being caricaturized. Yeah. And like, other than the wife kind of being treated like the comic relief, there was that part where like the main son is trying to like look at this kid's painting, and he's like, it's a chimpanzee, right? And she goes, it's a self-portrait or something like that. And he's just like,
oh yes,
amazing.
I see it now. Yes.
I don't know. I thought it was very strange how the movie could go from like making you laugh. Like that's what I mean. It's a dark humor movie with more to say, I guess. But what's really funny is that like, that being said, I probably only laughed like 4 or 5 times, and the rest of the time was just like squirming in my chair.
Yeah. It's true, and it's such a strange movie, but it's so well handled. Like you said, not just in the fact that, okay, you're going to talk about classism, and you're going to talk political ideas, capitalism, whatever, socialism, but the whole thing, you're gonna talk about all of that and visualize it even. But you're right that the film is so well handled that it's kind of impossible to get offended by. It's just sort of like, oh yeah, like everyone in this whole way of living is kind of sucky.
I think that my takeaway is I wasn't rooting for anybody until life and death came into play. Yeah. Like the only time I ever felt like, okay, you're the wrong one, was when people started getting
killed.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like you can understand all the perspectives. I would say like I stopped being sympathetic towards the family when it became like, I think it all turned when they triggered that previous housekeeper's peach allergy. Mm-hmm. That's what I was like, okay. Yeah. Any amount that you're like just trying to get by coming from like potentially killing someone who is in your own class is kind of effed up, but at the same time, I guess it also illustrates the plight that someone would be willing to do that.
And you have fruit allergies, so you're very sensitive.
I can't eat peaches. I remember when that happened, and I was like, "Don't you dare!"
Oh, Kellen got triggered.
Triggered.
See, I thought that was interesting because that really showed that like he wanted to make a statement about, as soon as some people, I think it's true for a lot of people, like in a lower economic class, like it's really easy as soon as you get even like a leg up to just sort of Put the other guy down. Be like, I know I'm. Oh, cool. I got a couple more gigs every week. I'm gonna try and get them all now. It's a lack of awareness. It's easy to forget where you come from pretty fast. So you can almost in that way say it happens to low income people. It happens to high income people. Like it's really easy to lose touch with what your needs are and sort of do what it takes to hang on to it or keep going up.
Well, this is almost sort of visualized in the film when the poor family, is left alone in the rich family's home, and they're kind of pretending like that they live there.
Yeah.
Like, what room would you have if we had this house?
Right.
And that sort of thing. And they're like looking out onto the backyard with the trees that block the view of all the poverty-stricken areas around and all this stuff. Right? They're just kind of looking inward in this home, and then like it's this like hard cut to reality as soon as they leave and they find that their home is being flooded, and they're losing everything, and it's this like immediate like just gut check, like boom, and it's so. You're right. Like I think they forgot. How tough it was.
Yeah.
And of course that's so beautiful because it's juxtaposed with like you've got this family and their home is being flooded, and you have the rich family whose son is sleeping out in the rain in a tent that is not being flooded. Right. And so it's these two things juxtaposed, and like everything is purposeful and I loved everything. The thing that I wanted to talk about is how well handled the tone shift is halfway through this film, because so I always liken it to like a key change in music, right? Like a key change in a song needs to be earned, and it also like it can be done very incorrectly, like at the wrong time or in the wrong way. That modulation has to be earned. But in this film, there's also a key change. And in so many films, when that happens, it loses all grasp of what tone it's going for. And in this, it's very clear there's, an A side and a B side, and they're very different tones, but that shift was so spot on that it doesn't matter that it changed. And so I loved that shift. And I think you guys know what I'm talking about. I don't know. Are we talking spoilers?
Yeah.
We
okay.
Have
So the previous housekeeper rings the doorbell, right? And it's like boom, on a dime, the whole thing shifts.
Yeah.
Right. And that tonal shift is insane and so good. And then it just becomes like a Jordan Peele movie for a little bit.
I think they were literally in the middle of laughing when the doorbell rang. It was when the husband jokingly threatened the wife.
You're right.
They're making jokes about him.
The kids were like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
And then they started cracking up, and then I'm pretty sure the doorbell rang. So
it was. Yeah.
But it's such a great shift. And then of course everything that follows is like, this descent, this literal descent into this uncomfortable and tense environment. And I just loved that moment. I thought that moment, like it would be very easy to screw that moment up, and they really, really nailed it.
Everything that follows is so unsettling. Like the way the housekeeper looks in the camera is unsettling. Like she looks crazy. And it's even and beyond that, like maybe it's briefly comedic when she comes back in the house, like, oh, I'm trying to move this shelf, ha ha ha. But then like I remember thinking like, what is she doing? She left something down there. I'm wondering what this is. It's some important object or whatever that belongs to the family. But as soon as she yells, honey or whatever, I was just like, what the fuck is down there?
Dude.
Like I was so you just hear like whatever it is, honey or sweetheart or whatever. It's just like and then I love that camera shot. I love following her all the way down there. Just like how many stairs are in this place? It just you keep going down, and you're just like, there's a person down here. Is he like a slave?
Is he person? Yeah. The creepiest fucking guy I've seen in my life.
So creepy.
Oh my God, that guy's creepy. And hold
on, you know what? I'm on IMDb. I'm gonna look up what does he look like normally.
Oh goodness,
dude, the creepiest moment is there's that flashback where the kid.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
That is so unsettling, dude.
Okay.
Yes. Just wide-eyed.
Oh my God! I was waiting to get to that. I hated that.
Boy.
I was like, I'm right there with you, kid. That would no
messed up forever.
There's no. It's so weird because like anytime now I have one room in my house where I can look at my stairs from that angle, and now I really don't want to. not even a little bit. I just think that one of the things that I was telling somebody about foreign films, and I think this may have been recently, I think I was talking about The Farewell. I was like, one of the things I like about foreign films is that the way that people talk is not as predictable in terms of their speech patterns. So there's, at least for me, there's already like an extra layer of like, this just sounds different than I'm used to. And it's not just because it's in another language. It's a rhythm of speaking that I cannot anticipate. And so I'm automatically paying more attention because I'm not sitting there going, all right, now it's the time of the scene where this happens, or here's Walter, what the hell, Walter? Like just okay, that line's been delivered that way a billion times. So it's just a nice refresher for my cynicism as a viewer that goes, all right, none of this is going to happen the way that I'm expecting it to happen. But one of the other things I like about it is that I don't know this cast. I've never seen them before. I have no preconceived notions about them. And it has the same charm as any sort of indie film over in the United States or Canada has, where I just don't have anything attached to these characters. And I'm purely allowed to enjoy, the story and the direction, and without doing extra brain work. And I love it when my brain doesn't have to do work.
Right.
So you were talking about like you don't generally choose to go for foreign films. I feel like I don't avoid them, and I don't seek them out. But I do enjoy it because of it sounds bad to say novelty, but like I think for the same reasons you were just saying, is that certain things that would be mundane in other films are pretty interesting just to see a different slice of life that you're not used to.
Yeah. A harmony in your life.
Different intonations, different expectations culturally and stuff like that.
Even just a different city, a different setting, like just things that are normal that are not normal to you,
Before I finish this thought, let me regress. This is the dude who played that guy, the creepy husband.
Oh, no. Yeah.
He is the most normal looking dude. He looks like a South Korean Jimmy Fallon.
What?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, look at him.
Wow.
He's just a normal guy.
That's a spot on description.
I know. It could be the suit and his demeanor. But
here, Kellen, text me that picture and then the picture from the film when we're done, because I'm going to put them on the video, put side by side.
So one of the things, though, that I do like about South Korean media and entertainment is that, whether it be just from the history the United States has with Korea and all that stuff, I find that of the Asian cultures, entertainment like Japanese, Chinese, some of the Filipino, Indonesian, Malaysian stuff, South Korean always kind of feels the most close to American culture, and that could just be because of how many of our values have crossed over with theirs. Nothing really seemed out of the ordinary, other than I think, and this is my privileged position, the very high disparity between the classes that was on display. Who am I? I'm texting you. Sorry, I'm very distracted.
Yeah, it's fine.
But yeah, I kind of appreciated this because other than different language that I had to read subtitles, which I don't really mind normally, it didn't feel like it was outside of my scope of cultural knowledge.
Sure.
Yeah.
For foreign films, for me, like I love foreign films, but I don't seek them out. I think for me, the theory is because I have to read it, I have to look at it, which means I have to put my phone down and I have to not think about a million other things.
Good point.
Right. So I'm automatically almost more invested in a foreign movie from the outset, because I'm in it. Like I'm focused, and on everything else. Like when I watched Crazy Rich Asians recently, I reviewed it. Didn't care for that film very much, but I didn't have to pay as much attention. Like there's a few parts where you do, sure.
Yeah.
But like for the most part, like the film starts and it's like in English and I'm like, oh, okay, I don't have to really pay attention here. And but with The Farewell or with this, it's like I'm in it. I have to be in it. Yeah,
I agree. The only drawback to that, depending, is if you're watching a foreign film where there's a lot of visual action, because then you are having to look between what's being spoken and what's on screen. But to be fair, but the what flies in the face of that is something like The Raid Redemption, where it's a foreign film and the action's incredible, and what they don't do during the action is talk.
Yeah, right.
So,
exactly.
I've been watching Kingdom. I finished the second season. Have you guys watched that? It's on Netflix.
No.
Oh, okay. So I highly suggest that. Not to deviate too much from what we're talking about.
That's fine.
It's a feudal South Korea zombie show.
Whoa.
Okay.
So it's real interesting. I thought the first season was better than the second one, mostly because the mystery is kind of unraveling. Mm-hmm. But it's really good, and that's a combo of action and a lot of dialogue. So that was one that I did find myself having to rewind and stuff like that. But that's also episodic TV stuff, so I could blame that. I should blame that on myself, like looking over at my phone or something like that, like Dustin was saying. But I would suggest that. And also Train to Busan, which
that's on my list,
dude. That is okay. So I love the zombie genre and I hate the zombie genre.
Yeah,
that is one of my favorite zombie movies in like 10 years.
I hate the zombie genre. That's hard to say. Zombie genre. But
definitely watch it.
Yeah, I don't like watching zombie stuff anymore. But I've heard nothing but good things about Train to Busan.
It's the most inventive zombie movie. It's just the way that. I mean, it's not a spoiler to say they're on a train and the only way to get from point A to point B is to go through the train cars.
Okay.
And what would you do if all those train cars were full of zombies?
Now that reminds me of Snowpiercer, another Bong Joon-ho.
Yeah, people compared it. Yeah.
And the son in Parasite is one of the secondary, tertiary characters in Train to Busan.
Gotcha.
He plays like a high school baseball player. Like on a train to, with his team to go play a game somewhere.
Gotcha.
But anyway, that was my deviation of conversation.
No, it's fine.
Sweet.
Dustin.
No, I know. I loved this film and I love I do love foreign films, and one of my favorite movies of all time, Seven Samurai, is one that I can revisit over and over. But I feel like I loved it so much because look, that film's been redone, right? Magnificent Seven, whatever, but which itself has been redone. But I think I think that foreign films just have this innate ability to draw us in because we read them. We're invested from the first frame.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. Sorry, can y'all hear my son?
Yeah.
You could have just said that was your stomach gurgling or something, and I would have believed you.
The perfect time too. That was a really important point.
Yo quiero leche.
Is that it for Parasite?
I mean, I skipped over the fact that I just think visually it's a really smart movie.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
It's really bizarre that the cinematography feels like it's based on the German architect that built that house or whatever. Was it German? Who was it? I can't remember.
I think it was.
It was
a German family that bought the house after the family abandoned it. But I don't remember who they said the architect was.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like there's a lot of flat angles. Everything just kind of feels straight on and geometric, and there's not a lot of dynamicism unless it's like insert close-up shots and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, thematically, the beats and everything like that, until that tonal shift that Dustin was talking about, very much felt kind of like a heist movie.
Yes.
And then it became
Jordan Peele-esque.
Don't breathe or move. Slide very slowly across the floor and make Kellen really, really uncomfortable on the couch.
Yes. Right.
And then probably because I didn't eat that big of a dinner before I watched it, when they were making the ramdon, which is it's ramen mixed with udon.
Yeah.
And so that was another like that. So do you watch a lot of like binging? Like, do you watch Binging with Babish, like that YouTube channel?
Every now and then.
No.
Okay, so it's a guy who makes recipes based on entertainment, like movies, cartoons, TV shows, and stuff. So he made that, and that dish is what people do when they combine ramen and udon packets together.
Yeah.
And that is something that people do for a cheap meal, and that the use of it in this movie was the rich family wanted them to make ramdon, which they didn't know what it was, because I think they're even poorer than the people who would make ramdon. And then when she made it, she asked her to make it with that really high quality sirloin.
Yeah. Steak. Yeah.
And so that dish was supposed to be this big cacophony of like what the classes are in the movie. And yeah. And so when I was watching it, I was like, man, that looks really good.
Yeah.
Damn, it's deep.
Yeah, I know.
It's a really well thought out film. Like I said, the tent versus their home. You descend into the poor family's home. You ascend into the rich family's home, and then you really descend into the bowels of the bunker there. But
speaking of bowels, did y'all just hear that?
I did not.
Oh, well, never mind. I'm sorry, Dustin. that was a man-sized fart from a child-sized child. Oh, that was a big old bird. Jesus,
I
Ollie.
heard it.
Yeah. But you know what's
guys.
interesting though, like talking about if this film were made in the U.S., right? I feel like there's a lot of things that would have been different that would have made it worse.
Yeah.
I think this is a weird example of a movie that could only have been made when and where it was.
Yeah.
Because which of course is ironic now, because HBO is doing a mini series, an American version mini series of this.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like a 6-episode deal. Bong Joon-ho's, overseeing it somehow, but yeah,
he's getting paid.
Yeah,
he's getting money.
He's getting that check.
But like it just feels like if this were a Hollywood picture, it would be like the poor family, they're really virtuous and noble, and you really want to root for them. Yeah. And the rich family, look at them.
The father's an oil tycoon, and
yeah, right. And he's having an affair, and like all this stuff would have just
subtlety. Subtlety is not American cinema's.
No, it's not.
Strong suit.
There literally would have been like a scene where he takes the boy outside and is like, I built these trees so I don't have to look at the poor. I hate the poor.
Yeah. Or he would be like abusive to his wife, so you'd be like, he's a shitty guy. We should steal from him.
Exactly.
He had it coming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you'd have like some moment where the poor family's dad does something very noble, like gives his family's bread to a poor man, and then we're like, oh, look, he's like Aladdin.
Yeah, because viewers don't like to feel conflicted. Viewers don't like to feel things other than like, it's just pumping straight into my brain.
I need to be told who to root for.
I'm uncomfortable by ambiguity.
Tell me what to think.
Yeah.
I don't care for the actions of these protagonists.
Which is really funny, because you know what, a lot of the more ignorant American viewers go, I don't like to read.
Right.
Yeah.
Why are there no white people in this film? Where's Tom Cruise?
Stop farting.
He was the last samurai.
That's the same thing, right?
That's the same country, right?
Japan and Korea, that's the same thing.
I kind of like Last Samurai.
I love Last Samurai. It's so good.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't know if that was
it's like Ken Watanabe at his best.
Oh yeah,
I love that dude.
Oh, that's a great film.
It is. Maybe it doesn't send the right message, but I love it.
I mean, there was a little bit of that white savior thing going on, but
Sure.
I think it was at a time where it was still transitioning into like something like at that time, something like a South Korean film that made people really uncomfortable would not win the Academy Awards.
And you get Tom Cruise screaming sake at a presumably scared Japanese actress.
And you get Peter Pettigrew speaking Japanese to people.
Oh, that's right. That guy's in.
He that's a good movie, dude. I need to rewatch that one.
Those are three actors: Tom Cruise, Timothy Spall, and Ken Watanabe, being exactly who we know them to be.
Correct.
To the max. That's
like peak long hair Tom Cruise.
Oh yeah,
he was trying to be really cool.
MI2. Yeah.
It would only be more Tom Cruisey if, while he was in Japan, was telling them all about Scientology.
While running.
Yeah.
Hey, and also for a culture that is generally on the short side, he probably stood out pretty heroically with his 5'6" inches.
Yeah.
Something like that. No, I think he's shorter. Hold on. Let's do this.
How tall is Tom Cruise?
How tall?
All right.
He's probably like 5'6", 5'7".
I'm going 5'5".
Oh, wow. He's 5'7". He's only 2 inches shorter, 2.5 inches shorter than me.
Wow. Are you 5'9", Kellen?
5'9.5".
Damn, dude.
Sucker.
I'm 5'7".
What?
Yeah.
I'm taller than you?
I'm 5'6".
That's what I'm implying.
No.
Dang. I know numbers.
Cool.
Oh, God. I want to ask y'all a question from I go across these Reddit things just to find random movie stuff.
Okay.
And so we're short on time, but I still feel the need to ask one of these because I think they spark good discussion. But then I forgot the one I was going to ask you. Oh, okay. Real quick. Here's an easy one, or easy enough, open and shut. What are your most favorite or most memorable movie quotes? Do you have like a favorite line that
in
you
any
think,
movie?
In any movie? This movie.
Those boards don't work on water.
Let's see. Here's some examples.
You Bojo.
You Bojo.
Some examples are.
Boards don't work on water.
He got it. Sorry.
That's it. Good night. Let's see. There is, like, here's Johnny, or, you want the truth. You can't handle the truth. I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is actually on there, Kellen.
You got to do that while putting your hands really high on your on your hips.
I used that today.
Somebody wrote, "Oh, hi, Mark," from the room.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Yeah, that's valid. That I quote all the time.
I can't think of one.
Much only speak in movie quotes when we're together anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Essentially, I can't narrow one down.
I mean, Back to the Future. I'm not even shitting you. Like, that's one of my favorite lines in that entire trilogy, and it's so not important other than describing what's happening.
Right. It's the delivery. It's all in the delivery.
McFly, you Bojo.
Those boys don't work on water.
Manure. I hate manure.
Yeah.
I gotta get away from the Back to the Future.
I really do love make like a tree and get out of here.
Yeah, a battleship.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. It's weird because like I used to have a poster that had like the 100 best movie quotes on it or whatever. So it's all the seminal, like frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. And
those get boring though.
They do. I don't know if we should have narrowed this down to.
Go ahead, make my day. Dirty Harry, all that shit.
Right.
It's
weird. Two of the ones in the comments are from Lord of the Rings, like right off the bat.
Let me guess. One of them is the thing that Gandalf says, like all we must do is decide what to do with the time that's given to you.
Correct.
Fly you fools.
Fly you fools. Yeah. Oh man!
Wait, what was the other one? I don't even know that quote.
They posted the big long conversation, but the other one is that there's some good in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for. See, right under that, someone wrote my favorite line in the whole trilogy, which is "I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you." Jesus, I'm choking up just thinking about it. That's such a good line.
My favorite line from those films is actually, so I used this in my senior yearbook in high school. We had to come up with a quote, and I used this quote.
My precious.
And, it's from Bilbo's 111th birthday. He says, "I don't know half of you half as well as I should like, and I like less than half of you half as well as you deserve."
That's in your yearbook?
Yeah, that's in my yearbook. I thought it was apt. I don't know half of you half as well as I should like, and I like less than half of you half as well as you deserve.
Dustin, this is probably more of a memory for me than it is for you. But do you remember? It was like a Sunday or a day that we were both like working in our sophomore year dorm, and I think you were like marathoning the Lord of the Rings movies. I'm pretty sure we were on Return of the King, and I thought it would be really hilarious to like really strongly state that like, no, Frodo and Sam are totally gay. And you were like, no, they're not. You're like, ha ha ha. And like, you weren't annoyed with it. Of course
I would take it seriously. Like, what about Rosie?
You weren't annoyed with it until like I really leaned into it. I was like, whatever, man. They're totally gay together. You're like, no, there's all these stories. Like, that's not the way it is. And like, it's not that you were like offended. You were just like, no, you don't understand the character. And I remember just like leaning really heavily into it. And I was like, I think I'm starting to upset him. I'll stop now.
Oh, that sounds about right. Yeah. I don't remember that, but yeah, that sounds about right.
I think I was doing some baloney homework that I really was bored with, and I was like, I'm gonna entertain myself.
I need a break.
Yeah, man. No, I love those movies though. I was just telling Sarah we need to rewatch all those Lord of the Rings movies, and yeah, they're so good.
We watched
isn't
pretty recently.
that getting like a series?
Yeah. Although it's a prequel series. Evidently, they've said it's set before the Hobbit
or whatever.
Yeah, it's like I don't know what it is. They haven't said much about
They're
it.
getting to the point where they're adapting entries from Tolkien's calendar just to make some money.
On his calendar, he actually tracked his BMs, and they're like,
I was also going to make a butt joke. I was going to say, time to go to the butt doctor. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that the thing on that note,
ending on Tolkien's bowel movements.
Yes. Yes. And speaking of which, I have to go change a diaper. So, okay, cool. That was fun.
That was good.
Okay. Well, until next time, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.